In 1977, a small factory in Colvin, Leicester got to work on something that would change the lives of countless people. Little did they realise that people were still caring enough 40 years later to sit and listen to a guy waffle on about that product. This is the Star Wars Toy Podcast. Hello there. Yes, this is the Star Wars Toy Podcast, and this is episode 18. I'm Darth Mark, and on today's show, I'm going to be talking about grading. I'm going to be doing a bit of a freeform rant again. That seemed pretty popular last time, and I'm going to be revisiting a subject I've talked about before, but it's been reopened recently, and that's the very controversial subject of Repro. But for all that, we've got this.
The Star Wars Tracker Report.
This is the market activity for the 12th of October to the 18th of October 2019. In all, there was 881 items sold for a total of £56,931. So the top 5 accessories this week at number 5, Land of the Jawas, Palatoy, Star Wars A playset scene, sold in the United Kingdom for £278. At number 4, we have a Desert Sail Skiff, AFA 85, Kenner, Return of the Jedi A Desert Scene, sold in the United Kingdom for £280. At number 3, we have a Turret and Probot, AFA 75, and that is on a Kenner Empire Strikes Back A Hoth Scene, and that was sold in Germany for €402. At number 2, we have a Land Speeder, the Meccano Star Wars A Red Meccano logo, sold in France, funnily enough, for €422. But at number 1, we have a Slave One, and that's on a Kenner Empire Strikes Back A Cloud City scene, and that was sold in the United States for $850. So on to the top 5 loose figures. In at number 5, we have a Squid Head, a Lily Ledy, that was sold in Mexico for $433. At number 4, we have Luke Skywalker Fanboy, yellow hair, AFA 85, Kenner, sold in the United States for £442. At number 3, we have Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight with a blue saber, AFA 90, Kenner, sold in the United States for $540. At number 2, we have another yellow hair Luke Skywalker Fanboy. This time it's an AFA U85. Yes, U grade, we don't like those, and I'll be talking about those in a bit. Kenner, sold in the United Kingdom for £500. But at number 1, we have a C3PO, the Droids variant, an AFA 90, Kenner, sold in the United States for $660. So lastly, we are on to the top 5 mock figures now. And in at number 5, we have a Jawa cloth cape, AFA 85, on a Kenner Star Wars 12J card back. And it was sold in the United Kingdom for £490. At number 4, we have a Ben Obi-Wan Kenobi white hair, AFA 75, Kenner Star Wars 12A, sold in the United States for $695. Number 3, we have a Darth Vader AFA 70, on a Kenner Star Wars 12C card, sold in the United States for $760. Number 2, we have a brown snake Yoda. It's on a clipper card this time, Return of the Jedi 77A, sold in Holland for $1,550. But at number 1, we have Boba Fett, AFA 75 plus, Kenner Empire Strikes Back 31A card, sold in the United States for $2,229. So that's your Star Wars tracker for this week. If you would like the Star Wars tracker for yourself, just head over to www.starwarstracker.com, as it's an invaluable source for all vintage Star Wars collectors.
Penny for your thoughts.
So this week, as I said, I'm going to be talking about grading. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't like grading. That will become obvious as I talk about grading on this podcast. I just want to be upfront with you and say that I don't like it. especially with the loose figures. If you've got something really special, yes, it's nice to have it graded, but I personally wouldn't send anything away for grading. I hate sending anything through the post as it is, let alone a very expensive carded figure. So I'm just going to start off with what is grading and what it actually means and what the process is. There are actually many important factors that contribute to a figure's grade and or value, including the figure condition, the backing card, whether it's loose, mint on card or mint in box, whether it's complete with all its accessories. It has to be free of dents, scratches and marks, etc. One of the most important factors determining an action figure's grade or value is the condition of the backing card. And this is because most collectors are looking for mint on card and mint in box figures. That's mock. A lot of collectors don't actually like that word mock, but we all use it now. It's come a term, MOC or MIB, as mint in box. You might see that on lists on eBay or anywhere else that you buy your figures. These figures are therefore presumed to be in mint or near mint condition, as they've never been out of their original packaging. As a result, if the card is damaged or in poor condition, particularly on older or rarer figures, its value could decrease quite considerably. Although modern day collectors are generally looking for mint on card, mint in box, some older vintage figures are still highly sought after, even loose. And that includes the early Kenner figures, rare and obscure figures that have gained a cult following over the years, like a blue snaggletooth, which you won't get on a card anywhere because they never put him on a card. And this is because in the 70s the hobby was still really in its infancy and wasn't so widely acknowledged. As a result, figures were opened, played with and discarded when finished with, meaning sealed and or mint examples of old figures are a rarity and command premium prices. Another important factor to take into consideration when you're considering valuing your figures is supply to demand ratio, but I'll tell you about that when we get onto the valuing your figures. For now, I want to concentrate on how to grade your figures, because accurately valuing them is a completely different ballgame. But as a rule of thumb, a loose mint 10, highest possible grade, will be valued at approximately 40% of its mock value if it is genuine mint 10 figure. It may seem a little strange to new collectors that the backing card is deemed so important in the grading of the figures, but it's simply because the backing card is mint 10 condition and the figure inside is also assumed to be as well. Up until recently, the most popular grading system of the condition scale, or the C scale, is pretty much universally accepted as a standard. But with the increasing popularity of the hobby, several professional grading services have sprung up. One of the most popular of these is the Action Figure Authority, AFA, who I talk about quite a bit on the Star Wars Tracker, and they have their own grading system. This system has now become widely accepted and recognised by collectors, so much so that a figure bearing an AFA grade will often sell for 2 to 3 times more than the equivalent ungraded figure, and it's pretty much replaced the old C-scale system. The biggest drawback with a professional graded service such as AFA is the cost. Ultimately, it should be considered an investment because the return and the increased value of the graded figure far outweighs the grading cost. AFA Gold graded figures have been known to fetch as much as 10 times the price of an ungraded figure on eBay. So what is the C-scale grading system? The C-scale is one of the easiest and most universally used systems for grading action figures, and it's commonly used by eBay sellers and traders when selling new and second-hand action figures. Until the rise of the professionally graded companies, it was generally accepted as the standard. There are many important factors that contribute to the figure's grade or value, including, as I've said before, the figure condition, the backing card, loose mock or mint in box, if it's complete with accessories, and free of dents, scratches and marks. With the C-scale system, a C10 is the highest grade and is generally for a carded action figure that is assumed to have no flaws or imperfections whatsoever. Any flaw, no matter how minor, and the carded figure can no longer be considered mint C10. A C10 grade is therefore very rare and even a figure that has come straight from the manufacturer in its factory sealed case will often have some slight imperfections such as sun damage, discoloration and fading, etc. Often a low grade will be given because the backing card is in poor condition, but this doesn't necessarily mean the action figure is in poor condition. Most dealers and traders will generally only deal with action figures of a C8 grade or above, unless it's particularly rare or hard to find action figure. The main advantage of the C grade scale system is that this is simple and straightforward to use and can be referred to by anybody. It is because of this flexibility and adaptability that it's become universally accepted. When dealing with large reputable businesses and established dealers, the system works fine, but it is when they're dealing with unprofessional dealers or novice collectors that the system advantage has become its main flaws. This is because there is no real way to verify the accuracy of the grading, leaving it open to abuse or misinterpretation, particularly when dealing with collectors selling off their private collections simply because they cannot get a reliable, independent, unbiased, accurate appraisal of their own action figure condition. Also, with the huge increase in the use of auction sites such as eBay, this has also resulted in the system being abused and unscrupulous sellers who intentionally misrepresent any action figure condition or ignore obvious flaws in order to inflate its value. We know who they are. These factors led to a steep decline in collectors' confidence in buying figures on the secondary market, which meant that prices and values began to drop as the demand dropped. It's out of this frustration and lack of confidence in the secondary market that the professional grading system grew and began to restore confidence in the market. So how to use the C-scale? So these are the generally accepted grades available in the C-scale and the relevant condition of the carded figure, which I'll give out. But please note that it's a guide, and as always ensure that you are dealing with an established or reputable dealer when buying your action figures using the C-scale. Remember, if in doubt, always ask for clarification from the seller, and if he is unwilling to answer your questions, don't buy it. So we have a C10, which is mint. The backing card should be flat with bright, clear colours, no creases, tears or marks. Most cards have noticeable sheen or gloss to them. They should be free from stains, holes, such as pin or tack holes, writing, unless it's been autographed, or other markings. The edges should be tight, no frays and separations. The corners, no curlings, bends or creases. And the card itself should have no creases. It should have also no price tag or card service tear. The bubble should be clear, complete, attached, no yellowing, crushing, dents, dings, malformations, or cracks of any size. It is particularly important to check where the bubble meets the carding, as I know dealers have resealed shop display figures back into the original display boxes to be sold as mint items. C8 or 9, each are near mint. The backing card should be flat or nearly flat with clear, bright colours and original gloss or sheen, where it should be no stains, tears, holes or writing, again, unless autographed. The edges should be tight with no fraying or separation. The corner curl should be minimal curling. Generally accepted that there should be no creasing or cracking, i.e. the damage should be minimal, that it could probably be fattened out without further damage, and the damage should be barely noticeable. C6, 7, fine. Some curling and or creasing is acceptable, but there should be no cracking of the ink or print. The colours should be reasonably bright, though some of the original sheen may have faded, and there should be no major tears, stains, holes or writing. The edges should be mostly tight, although may have some minor fraying or separation. Sections should be less than 1 inch in length. The corner curl, there may be some minor permanent creasing or cracking of print and or fraying of the card at the corners, one of the two corners. A C4, 5, good. There may be permanent curling or creasing in the card, including cracking, printing of ink. The card may have lost all of its original sheen and brightness, fade into a flat dull finish, although it could still have the colour. The card may have small tears, there's less than half an inch. Also some stains, writing, including autographs, and some small holes may be present, 1 to 3 pinholes, or one larger hole less than 1/4 of an inch in diameter. The edges may have some minor fraying or separation. Sections should be total less than 3 inches in length. The corner curl should have several or permanent creases or cracking on the print, several fraying of the cards. Corners 1 to 4 corners. The creases, more severe creases that may include cracking of print or ink. The price tag, card surface tear. Larger tears less than 1/4 inch permitted. The bubble, a more pronounced discolouring or yellowing, may be present, but it should be a medium tan and not completely brown. The bubble should still be primarily attached, with no possibility that the figure could have been removed. Though it may have detached small sections smaller than 1 inch, there may be other parts of the card, front of the bubble, including tears to the print and ink. The bubble may have cracks of less than 1/4 inch and have pronounced bubble damage, such as crushing or large dents, without any reformation. C23, which is poor. The card may be almost completely folded over, or several curls and creasing, including cracking print of ink. The card's original sheen or gloss may have completely faded to a flat, dull finish, with the colours severely faded or discoloured. The card may also have more pronounced stains, such as water stains or dirt, and may have more pronounced tears and holes. On the edges, pronounced fraying and separation, greater than 3 inch total, may be visible. The corner curl, severe or permanent creasing and or cracking of the print, with several fraying of card corners, 2 to 4 corners. The creases, the card may be permanently creased with cracked print or ink, and the card may also completely folded over. Price tag and card surface tear, more pronounced tears on card surface, 1/4 up to 1 inch. The bubble, severe yellowing may be present, and the bubble may completely be brown or opaque in sections, and the bubble should still be attached, though it may be detached on up to 2 complete sides, as it may have been possible that the figure could have been removed and reinserted onto the bubble. The detached areas may also have parts of the card front surface, including pronounced tears in the print ink. The bubble may also be completely crushed if figure is undamaged, and though it contains major dents or dings without any reformation, and the bubble may have cracks of up to 1 inch in length. And finally, we've got a C1, which is very poor. This is the lowest grade available, and as such, the action figure given in this grade may have a card that is completely ripped or curled with permanent creases and 1 or more permanent holes that may be present. It may have other stains or marks on it. Similar damage may also be present. In fact, the only reason this has had the grade is because the action figure is still attached, no matter how slightly, to the card. The edges can be severely frayed, split and or separated. The corners may be severely curled or torn, with permanent creasing and or cracking, more than 2 corners. The creases the card may be permanently creased or broken with cracked print or ink, and or the card may be completely folded. The large surface tears may be present, tears of over 1 inch, signs of a price tag being removed, etc. And the bubble may be completely discoloured, a brown or dark yellow, and may be cloudy or opaque totally or in one part. Large cracks larger than 2 inch present and possibly detached from the card, and the bubble may have been crushed and severely damaged. So on to professional grading now. I'm going to give you 2 points of view. I'm going to give you why grading is good and why it is bad. So the good points first. The professional grading system grew out of the frustration and disillusionment of the average collector and the problems facing the hobby due to unscrupulous dealers abusing the C-scale grading system and the intentional misinterpretation of a figure's condition and or value. Also, the hobby was enjoying a surge in popularity and collectors were losing confidence in the secondary market, and this was threatening the market and devaluing figures due to the drop in demand. It was therefore becoming increasingly obvious that a new system was required to restore collectors' confidence and stimulate the secondary market with a recognised and intentionally accepted grading system, and so numerous professional grading services were started up. Probably one of the most popular and most widely accepted is the AFA Action Figure Authority grading system. Once the figure has been given its AFA grade, it is sealed inside a hard acrylic case to ensure its grading condition is preserved. Much the same way as a PSA grading trading cards are. So do you need professional grading? Whether you get your action figures professionally graded is ultimately your choice. However, if your plan is to selling any of your action figures, particularly any vintage or valuable figures in the future, and you want to get the best bang for your buck, then yes, you should get them professionally graded. Also, if you view your collection as an investment, and yes, you should at some stage look at them professionally graded. After all, if you had an antique painting, wouldn't you get it appraised before auctioning it? Of course, so the same applies here. But if your collection is just that, then I would suggest that you don't really need them to be professionally graded. That said, remember that a professionally graded action figure, one that's been graded by a well-known and respectable company such as AFA, will increase its value, and keen collectors and/or investors will feel more confident in bidding on it or buying it. But a word of caution, if you're going to pay to have your action figures conditioned and authentically verified by a professional grading service, make sure it's a well-known and established, respected company that you use. As already mentioned, AFA is highly recommended, but there are other places like UKG and CAS. Having your action figures professionally graded can be expensive though, so only get those figures that are either vintage or valuable professionally graded. If you have a new action figure that you've invested in and wish to ensure it stays in pristine condition, then I would also advise it being professionally graded. If, however, your action figure has any minor flaws or damage, then it's probably not worthwhile getting it graded. It's usually only 85 plus AFA graded action figures. Unlike the C scale, the AFA grade is a scale of 1 to 100, with 10 being very poor and 100 being gem mint. That command premium prices and demand for collectors and dealers, so any ever lower grade can generally be bought at a cheaper price anywhere on the net. So there you go, some of the good points on grading. I'm going to be talking more about AFA and all the other grading companies separately on another podcast. I might do it next week. But as I said at the beginning, I don't agree with grading. As I said there, it's the high-end articles that need to be graded, not everything that you have, all your loose figures, anything like that. So what are the bad points on grading? Well, AFA are some divine entity. There are people who, like you and me, have opinions on grading, and it's not more valid and consistent than anybody else. You're sending these figures away, and it's just some random bloke on that day might have had a bad day and just thought, no, I'm not gonna give you a good grade on this one. So it's hit and miss. I mean, they've had the bad points, which I've talked about before, like the Toy Tonys. My favourite recent one, graded a mock that had the entire proof of purchase removed and replaced. As I said, we're all human, we all make mistakes, but that is just my whole point. You're going to be paying a lot of money to get your valuable collection graded, and they're going to make mistakes like that. Another thing is it artificially inflates the value of the high-end items and can even lower the value of the lower graded items. Another thing is it's sealed away. You won't be able to touch the card again. And one of the whole nostalgia things is holding the card and touching the card and feeling it, and just holding it. If you want it in a case, get a GW case. At least you can get it out then. But my main point is that they offer no protection whatsoever to bubbles during shipping, which is why you see so many graded mocks with bubbles that have fallen off. And as I said at the beginning, I don't want to send my valuable figures through the post. So there you go, that's my 2 penneth on grading. I would like to know what you think. You can email me, bullharvesttoys@gmail.com, or you can also hit me up on Twitter at Star Wars Toy Pod.
Somebody once told me the world is gonna throw me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed.
There's going to be no news this week because, well, the news I gave last week has only just come out this week about the auction for the Boba Fett. I noticed a few newspapers jumping on the bandwagon. But what I want to talk about is, rant about or whatever, just tell you about is the little topic of repos seems to have resurfaced due to a video from the guys over on Analog Toys YouTube channel. I'm not going to play any of it. You just need to go have a look at it and see what you think. I know what you think if you're a proper collector, but I did leave a little message there, and I don't know if that is actually let it go onto the channel because it's not. Nobody's replied to it, which is unfortunate, really. There was a comment by Toy Polloy on there too, which I'll get to in a minute. But the gist of the argument is that they're saying that us collectors are being snobby and elitist. Well, I'm no snob, and I've never been elite. I just love collecting Star Wars. He even read some comments out on the video, and there was one guy that said, if you can't afford to buy the original weapons, you shouldn't be in this hobby. Which I totally agree with. It's not being elitist. It's, to be honest with you, it is the only hobby, the only toy collection where repros aren't allowed, should I say. Action Man, Transformers, anything like that, you can have 3D printed whatever you want. The whole point of what this guy said is that this Star Wars collecting is expensive. And it is. It's very expensive. And if you can't afford it, don't collect it. I'd love an Aston Martin. I can't afford one. So I don't collect them. I don't collect reproduction whatevers. This guy that was doing the video didn't even know that Hasbro owned the Kenner property. He said that Disney owned it. Which they don't. Hasbro owned the Kenner property. And he was saying about things on eBay, and that eBay aren't bothered about it, so we shouldn't be. The only reason eBay aren't bothered about it because their way about going about things is that whoever owns the properties needs to complain. And Hasbro own the property, and they're not going to complain because they produce bloody repro stuff themselves. He even went on to compare Star Wars with having a dodgy Arsenal shirt or something like that, talking about his sporting Arsenal and the knockoff Chinese things you can get on eBay. Comparing Star Wars collecting to anything is wrong. Star Wars is on its own. It's like nothing ever in collecting. Vintage Star Wars is about having vintage Star Wars, having the nostalgia. So saying that, I'm going to go on to what Toy Polloy have put. Some Star Wars collectors will never be happy. They're only worried about the value of their toys. And they're not enjoying the toys for what they are, only an investment. And that is why they don't like to see reproductions of anything. It hurts their investment. What I do, showing how to repair our toys, really winds them up. Is that why you do it? Just search for my name, any of these groups, and you will see some real hate there. Well, no, I don't hate you. I don't hate anybody. I don't mind you doing what you need to do for your channel. It's a very popular channel. A lot of people feel the same way as you. And you're not going on selling these things on eBay, which is good. But a lot of people are. It's like these customs that have become very popular now. I don't mind customs of something that's not been produced before. But why customs of a yak face and a blue snaggletooth? I would love a blue snaggletooth, but I haven't got one. I've got a yak face. I'd hate the yak face, but I've got one. Because I got it very cheap. The whole point of collecting is to enjoy it. And hunt out as cheap as you can. I know I'm not going to go out and buy a £60 blaster. But I'm not going to go out and buy one for £4 just so I can have it in my collection. I'd rather have the original one and have the thrill of the hunt of trying to find it cheap. Because it will be out there. You can find, if you get a job lot of bloody box of toys, there might be a blaster in there. You go on a bloody car boat. I've found Princess Leia's for 20p. And that, my friend, is why we love this hobby. We love the Star Wars collecting. It's not for investment. Yes, I do buy some for investment. because that's a part of my business. But if I see something that I really want for myself, I'll get it if I can afford it. And if I can't afford it, I won't get it. Simple as that. So no, it's not about hurting our investments. It's about stopping people ripping people off who don't know any better. And that is one of the reasons why I do this podcast, so people do know better. So if you want to be a real collector of Star Wars, no, any other property is fine, but Star Wars is different. I collect for the nostalgia. I've just bought a Meccano Ben Kenobi carded on the square card because I bought one when I was on a day trip to France when I was with school. I had to sell 2 of my figures to get it, but I only got it because of the nostalgia and how it's made me feel. It took me back to a better time, to a time when all we could think about is what figure we're going to get next. So with that, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed this week's podcast. I hope you enjoyed my rant. I need to get it off my chest, that's all. It's just something that's been bugging me. So if you have liked this podcast, leave a review on iTunes, will you? Apple Podcasts, whatever they call it these days. Or wherever you catch this pod. And as I said, you can also catch me on Twitter at Star Wars Toy Pod. On email, Blue Harvest Vintage Toys. And on Patreon, Blue Harvest Vintage. So until next week, may the toys be with you.
Just one more round, friend, then homeward bound, friend. Don't forget me in your dreams. Just one more song, friend, and then so long, friend. The nights get shorter, it seems. Just one more rhyme, friend. Yes, it's a crime, friend. But you know time, friend. Time can fly. So it's good night, friend. Good night, but not goodbye.
Number 5, we have a cloth cake. Cloth cake?